Okay, hello everyone. Today is March the 8th, 2023, and welcome to the KMM community meeting. A few announcements to begin with, pretty much what happened since the last meeting that was last week. We made a change to the signing process. We now use KMMO to extract the KMODs that you want to sign, sign them, and then bundle them into the desired image. So we used to have custom code for that, and now we use KMMO only, pretty much. We have also made a change to KMM. We are now injecting those two variables, mod name and mod namespace, which correspond to the metadata of the module you're processing. So we inject those into the container image field, like kernel full version, and in build arguments when you are building something. Yoni, what do you want to add something?
I just wanted to add something to the agenda, but we can wait till the end. Not urgent.
Okay. Okay. Sure. I think we made some decisions last week regarding a few topics that we had, and then so I went ahead and creating the 1.1 release milestone on GitHub. If we don't have any further question on the two items that I just talked about, maybe we can have a look at that. And I'm not hearing anything, so let's have a look at it. So for 1.1, I hope that that's visible. We intend to work on these four items. So let me start with what's already completed. The module name and environment variable. This is what I've just been talking about. So this is already in the code base. And the four items that we want to address here are, first of all, the better support for custom KMMO upgrade workflows. This is what Yevgeny has been presenting in past community meetings. So this is that proposal with the module version and new labels that allow you to customize in which order you want to upgrade your fleet of nodes, with or without a reboot. So we want to have that in for 1.1. I'll go through all items and then we can discuss if people want to discuss any of these items. The second item we want to have is validating webhook. So this is targeting usability. We want to make sure that all regexes in your module are valid and a couple other things. So this will be done through a webhook, and we intend to have that into 1.1 as well. We also want to introduce a concept of dependencies within a module loader image. So that means creating a list of kernel, a list of KMODs that would be loaded through the soft-det mechanism. We've been talking about that last week, but this is to address use cases where you want to load several modules that depend on each other, but not with hard dependencies. Only soft dependencies, meaning we don't rely on symbols for that. So we will use a mod prop configuration file for that we will generate dynamically, and this will also be part of the 1.1 release. And last but not least is the removing an entry module before we load an out of tree one. So that's pretty much running modprop-r with the entry module that's already loaded in the node before doing anything, meaning before loading the firmware or these kind of things. That's it. Any comment, any feedback on that plan? Oh, I forgot to say that we intend to have all of this completed or merged into the upstream repo by April the 15th. So that's in 1 month and 1 week, actually. Any feedback, comment, concerns? Anything we forgot? Anything major we forgot? sounds good to me. Then I'm not hearing any pushback. So this is what we'll be working on. And I will emphasize today that we welcome contributions. So if anyone wants to take over one of these issues or make further contributions to KMM, we really look forward to that. So you can ping people either on Slack or directly on GitHub and try to contribute one of these features. Back to the agenda. I think that's what I had for the 1.1 release. Go ahead, Yanni.
Yeah, regarding contributing, we have a contributing markdown in our GitHub repository. I think it worth linking it inside the doc so people have easy access. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for the suggestion. Anything else on the 1.1 release? If not, then I think Hershey wanted to talk about issue 104, which is removing an entry module before loading the auth of tree 1.
Yeah, sure.
So is there anything you want specific you want to discuss about that one?
Nothing particular. I think what you have covered, and you mentioned it's going to be targeted for 1.1, right? That's what we wanted to hear. So that's
okay.
good.
All right. Well, I do have a question, I guess, for the audience. So it sounds pretty straightforward to me. I think we want to do modprop-r with the existing module before we do anything else. The question is, what about when the pod is terminating? Do we want to insert back the entry module whenever we remove the auth of tree 1? Any opinion on that?
In my personal opinion, we shouldn't. Because
why not?
We shouldn't?
We shouldn't. Usually, if customer wants to replace the existing model, it means that it is pretty old and not relevant for his use case. So what do we gain by reinserting it back?
I don't have a strong opinion about it, but I will suggest at least thinking about the fact that we should leave the same state as we found before KMM. So if without KMM, this entry driver was supposed to be inserted, then if we remove it as part of some flow, we should put it back as it was after removing the customer's module. But this is not a strong opinion, just one point of view that we should at least think of.
Well, the way I see it is that the customer wanted to replace the entry driver anyway because it's not compatible with his use case. So when he replaces it and then he wants to remove his own module, it means that he doesn't have a use for that kernel model specifically. So
how about the customers, for example, that may use some networking solution or storage solution and just want to have its own driver for personal hardware, but when this hardware is not available on the nodes and we remove the kernel module for that, then we should continue using the default storage and networking driver.
Well, in case of networking and storage, it means that this is actually the strongest use case for running for removing and inserting immediately the updated kernel model. You will probably not remove it at all after that, after you inserted your own version. Because why would you?
But I think, the most widespread use case would be you have an entry driver, it's not doing what you want, so you insert the auth of tree 1, and then whenever a new entry driver with the features you need is available, then you're going to upgrade to that. But that means rebooting the node and booting on a new kernel anyway.
Yeah.
Hirsch, I would ask you what's your opinion on that, because I think you were insisting that this issue be part of 1.1. So do you have a use case for reinserting the entry module after we remove the out of tray 1?
Yeah, we don't have a use case at the moment to reinsert, but I do agree with Yanni that I would err on the side of restoring the node to the state before KMM did anything.
Understood. So I was thinking maybe we could have a setting that governs that. We will anyway, I think we will anyway modify the API, add a new field saying, before you do anything, unload that entry kernel module. So we could have a setting that governs whether we insert it back or not. How does that sound?
Quentin, the question is, will we be able to do it at all?
So we do, in the module loader container, we do mount lib modules.
What if it is not there? I mean, what if it is mounted on boot from some other location?
So then how is it inserted?
By boot configuration, somehow we are init ramfs or some mode probe on boot, which has a configuration for mode probes from different locations, and this is possible. You can configure mode probe to run like a sequence of command on a specific driver, and one of those commands can be insmod from some location, whatever.
Understood. So how
can we
about,
be sure that we will be able to execute exactly the same? I'm not sure.
Right.
This is something that needs to be checked and verified.
That makes sense. So if we introduce a setting, then it becomes the user's responsibility to make sure that the module can be inserted again. But I would say we just offer the setting to remove the entry driver. We don't offer anything else for now, and we wait for RFEs.
That sounds good to me.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So Yoni, I think you added another item to the agenda. I think we already started discussing it next week, but we said we would revisit it this week.
Yeah, so I wasn't present in the previous meeting, but I did read the notes on it. So basically, there is a label on the notes saying that a kernel module was loaded on specific nodes, and this is internally used, for example, for the device plugin to understand on which node it should be running. So now, technically, this is not an API of KMM, but we talked about that label a few times in the community meetings, and we were wondering if there is any customer that is making use of that label as an API, because we have some requirements to change it. For example, insert the namespace in it. Another thing that we wanted to change is to add the pod name as the value of the label, because we have some race condition in which when a module is deleted and then reinserted back, because of the fact we are getting 2 events, then the second event would delete the label, although there is already a new pod running, inserting the kernel module. So long story short, there are some changes that we want to do on that label, and we were wondering if there is any customer that is making use of that label as an API to understand if we are going to break someone in case we decide to change it. and if we need to maintain some backward compatibility on it. So we will. I was wondering if there is any feedback from the community regarding that label.
I think Intel uses it, right, to schedule the device plugin.
At the moment, we are not using it, so I think the proposal that Yanni has here is completely fine. Yeah, no impact.
Thank
That's
you.
good to hear. Is there anyone else that may use it or have any use case for making use of that? Also, maybe another small question for you, Hirsch. In the future, we were wondering if this should be an API or that the all API should be reflected in the module status. So in case that we eventually decide to reflect that information to the user through the module status, would it be okay in a future user story that you may have? Or in case you decide to use it, you will have it to be a label on the node? Did my question made any sense, or it was confusing?
No, can you yeah, repeat that question?
Okay, so we are trying to understand. We would like ideally that the API will be scoped to the module status only, which means that if you want to consume such information to understand on which nodes your kernel was loaded, we would prefer, at least this is what I think, we would prefer that this information to be get by the module status and not by querying the label on the nodes. So that will allow us the flexibility of changing the inner implementation without worrying about backward compatibility, as long as we maintain that API on the status. So I was wondering if this is something that, in case you wish to use it in order to load the device plugin, would it be okay in the future to still have that information through the module status instead of from the labels on the node? Just a hypothetical question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at first glance it seems reasonable, but I think we'd have to take it back and is to understand any potential implications, if there are any.
Yanni, the thing is that if it's in the status, you cannot use it to schedule a daemon set that contains, for example, the device plugin or any workload.
No,
that's why we made it a label.
No, I didn't mean we remove the label. I just say that instead of the user checking the labels on the nodes, we will just tell him in the status of the module what are the nodes names in which his module has been loaded. So we can use the selector which has the node label, the node name, excuse me. And we have the freedom of changing any label that KMM is creating internally, for example.
But so let's say, okay, I'm a user, I use KMM. I create a daemon set that targets the nodes that have the module loaded. How do I do that if it's only, a list of host names in the module status?
So I think you can, I'm pretty sure you can have a node selector that is based on the name of the node. So if you have a list of node names in the modules, then you can just have a selector. It may be an issue because then you can choose only one node.
Yeah, and you would need an operator that reads the module status and puts that as the selector.
This is not ideal, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, to give everyone a bit of context, my concern here is that if we have anyone using that label here, and we actually remove it outside of a major version of KMM, then we are potentially breaking someone. And I'm glad to hear that Intel is not using it, but like we might have people that are using KMM and we're not, aware of it, and we don't want to break those solutions. So that's why I think like a way forward, and we can have the discussion here. A way forward would be to add that new label here. That sounds fine to me. And keep that one, deprecated, but keep it until the next major upgrade of KMM. Then I feel it's the best of both worlds, really.
There is an issue with that suggestion. I mean, it's not really an issue. It's just, so we have two changes that we need to do. The first change is adding the namespace. And the second change that I think is the cleanest one is to have the pod names inside the value of the label, and then schedule daemon set according to node affinity instead of node selector. And those two change, if we override the label, then it's the simplest change to do. But if we don't, then the second one cannot be added while keeping the old one, because you cannot label the same nodes with two different labeled keys regardless of the value. So that will mean that you will have to put the pod value, for example, inside the node, the label key, and not as a value, and then the solution becomes just a bit more complex and less clean. So there is also a downside to it. So I definitely think we should rediscuss it due to the fact that we are not aware of any customers using it at the moment. But worst case, yeah, we can have something that is a bit more complex and less clean, just for the matter of backward compatibility. But
yeah, I'd like to hold to backwards compatibility, you know, very strongly, because like we really don't want to break anyone. And yeah, we said wait for feedback here. Do we have an issue that describes, yeah, you know, that idea of having the pod name?
I think we do. Let me check real quick.
Is it that? No, it's not that one. I think it's that one.
Yeah, found it. I'm not looking at your screen, but let me put it in the doc in case you didn't. Here it is. Yeah, this is the one.
Right. Right. I mean, the value of that new ready label, if we go with something like this, that would contain the name of the pods that are loading that module. That you know, that could be a list.
That could be a what?
A list of names. Then
Yeah,
the reconciler could use that.
It can do anything, because we can still schedule when we use node affinity as the selectors, and it just ignoring the value. So we can do whatever we want in the value without affecting anything based on selections of the nodes for running something. So this is why it's make it a bit cleaner than every other solution, because it doesn't really affect it. But yeah, the downside is that if there is someone that is using it, which is not part of the community meeting and didn't see the issue and not responding on Slack, then yeah, we may break it. But to be honest, I think that we discussed it as much as we could with the community, and we have no feedback about anyone using it at the moment. So I would be changing it.
I would not change it outside of a major version.
Okay.
Honestly.
Yeah, I think there are guidance from Kubernetes in terms of what the procedure is to potential implications on if something within a minor version, you know, what's the deprecation policy, all that.
The thing is, and you know, this issue is a bit unfortunate, because we went ahead and we did not prefix this with something like beta.kmm.node.kubernetes.io. That would signal to users that they should not rely on that label, right? We did not do that, and now I think we have to bear that responsibility and wait until the next major release. We can still say it's deprecated, it's buggy, blah blah blah. That's fine, but I would not break. You know, I'm just thinking about a user here that would install a minor or a patch version of KMM, and then that feature is gone, and then your daemon set running, for example, your device plugin stops working, and I would hate to see that.
Quentin, just a question: how does that user know what that label means?
Well, we did advertise it at the community meeting, and
yeah, but he was not at the community meeting.
Well,
So-
maybe they were and they are not anymore. And if you see that label on your node and you see it consistently, then you can think, okay, so it's here to stay. It doesn't
Yeah,
even
but-
have any beta or alpha prefix.
But it doesn't appear in CRD or in any features that we advertise, right? We didn't advertise it as a feature, I mean, in any of the docs.
We did advertise it in the community meeting minutes, but it's not in the docs now. I'm not sure if it's not in the early docs of KMM. I would have to check that. The design thing. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I would have to check that. Anyway, I really don't see the cost of us keeping that until the next major version. Anything else on that topic?
Do we have an estimation for the next version release date?
I think we're looking at the end of the year, maybe in November, something like that. But it needs, we were, and I think I have to write the announcements for that. But we are moving towards a model where we have one daemon set that's running all the K mods. So it probably needs a lot of work and a lot of presentations to the community, approval from everyone, blah blah blah. So it's a long way ahead of us.
So just to understand the process, so we are going to cut release 1.0 branch, and then master will start working on 1.1, and then we are going to cut a branch for release 1.1 and start working on 2.0 on master. Is that the expectation?
That sounds good
Okay.
to me. Yeah. I don't think we have a branch for 1.0.0. We do have a release. I did create a release here. Let me go to the repo real quick. So we do have a release here, but there was no branch, in fact. Yeah. So I just tagged one commit, and that was 1.0.
Yeah, I think we will have to have a branch if we want to have some backporting to 1.0 once we start working on 1.1.
Could be. We could branch right now, and that would become 1.1. It's just, it creates a lot of, it's a bit tedious with all the cherry picks, but maybe that's better.
Oh, we can also agree that there is no backporting upstream. I mean,
Sure.
I'm not sure who should take that decision, but this is an option too.
Well, let's discuss it in 2 weeks, actually, when we are well advanced on the 1.1 implementations, so we can revisit that, I think.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah. If I can, first I have to apologize because I had a previous meeting that was going long, so even though I was on, I was splitting my attention. So I missed some of the first 20 plus minutes. So with respect to the node labeling, you're going to defer that to a future, or there already is a node labeling and it'll just change in a future?
So we do write that label here. Can you see my screen, Jerry?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we do add that label to the nodes today. Thing is, it doesn't have any namespace notion, as you can see. So we are open to collisions here. So we want to change it for that. But at the same time, we might have people depending on the first one, so we don't want to just remove it.
Got it. I'm sorry. That was because my audio was off. I didn't hear that part. So to be clear, even though you're doing stuff to make sure things start at the same time on a node, on a per node level, I could have my device plug in. Well, I guess I could do LS mod. My device plugin will know that the kernel module is ready.
Are you using
either
KMM
with a label or with LS mod, or there's a whole lot of ways? Never mind.
If you're using KMM to deploy the device plugin, well, we take care of it, so we know which label to use.
Okay. Yeah. And that's in 1.1.
It's already in 1.0.
That the
Device
device
plugin
plugin
capa-
is always done after the kernel module on a per node basis?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
It's already in there.
Excellent.
Anything else on today's agenda or any other topic, really? If not, then I think we can give everyone 25 minutes back. And thank everyone for the attendance.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye,
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.